Micah. Hello. Didn't know you still work here.
I do. That's Mike Blue with Family Dollar. It's BLEW. Mike Blue, Family Dollar.
For the record, it's generally a good thing when the attorney has a low profile.
Good point.
For the record.
But there are times where I felt I needed your guidance, personally. Without you here,
Is it whether you state it different or not?
4:30. In which case, the answer's always yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is 4:30. We'd like to begin, so I'd like to welcome all of you here today. We'd like to begin by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could I have a roll call, please?
Pete Hamill.
Here.
Ken Snyder.
Here.
Brad Hinn.
Here.
Wayne Barahona.
Here.
Tom Akers.
Here.
All right, item 2 is approval of the agenda. I'll take a motion for that.
So moved.
Support. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ken.
Aye.
Akers.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Barahona.
Aye.
Hamill.
Aye.
Item 3 on our agenda is the public forum for items on or off the agenda. Is there anyone today that would like to address the council at this time? Seeing no movement, we will move on then to the consent agenda. Again, a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion, anything in there? Roll call, please.
Hamill.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Barahona.
Aye.
Akers.
Aye.
Ken.
Aye.
Do note the public hearing on the Bethel site development. That'll be next meeting on 2 weeks from today. And then let's move on to the new business. First item there is regarding the H.C. Lane buildings, 312 to 314 9th Street and 320 to 326 9th Street. Update on that, Sam, and you want to speak to that? Sure.
I'll just briefly summarize the report that I linked. So this involves 6 different buildings downtown and with some other property owners in between, from 312 9th Street to 326, with the 324 and 326 being the flagship former Wolf buildings. So Mr. Lane's grandson, Mr. Lane, H.C. Lane, built the properties in 1901. His grandson, Danny Lane, lives in California, and he desires to see the properties preserved. His letter is attached. There was a previous sale that fell through due to factors including a title issue. I reached out to him, and mainly I've been talking to his son to see if they'd be interested in this option to help move the process forward. If you approve the agreement or the resolution, $30,000 would then be transferred to our city attorney's escrow account at Woods Fuller, and the funds would be paid to Danny Lane on closing of the 6th and final property. So, stand for questions.
So we would be buying the properties, or
No.
what's the city's role in that?
No, the city's role would be to incentivize the sale. So there's I don't know if, Kurt, if you have anything to add on this one. But the goal here would be to incentivize the sale. There was a buyer that had stepped aside because of the title issues a few years ago. That buyer may or may not be interested now.
Are those
Um,
titles, is that settled? No?
No.
They're not.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer to that is they're not. I mean, it's been,
What are the prospects of getting that resolved?
well, Mike, I'm not sure how much you can speak to that, although.
It's in the district court's hands at this point. So, there was a quiet title action that is pending, and that will have to be ruled on by the court.
You want to briefly explain what a title action, quiet title action is?
Quiet title action is when a party is confronted with an issue of other persons that may have a claim to the title, and the only way to have their claims resolved or removed is for the court to hear the issue and address the issue. So in this particular case, decades ago, there was a deed that, or a series of deeds that appeared to create title in an alley and 2.5 feet, and that was not known to the Lanes, and the person that owned that interest allegedly died under a state supervised conservatorship many years ago. So there's people around the country that potentially could have a claim to the property that have to have those interests removed.
So do I understand this correctly, that 30,000 is just to incentivize them to sell the property?
You could say that. The other way to phrase it would be to help the seller get clear title and move the process forward, because it's just sat there for a long time.
So if I understand this right, we're talking about approving $30,000 to go into an escrow account, sit there and wait for either the sale, well, I guess the sale of the properties, all properties, with no time limitation.
That is correct.
Okay. So the $30,000 could be in that escrow account for years,
For years, yeah.
possibly.
I would say let's just pay him $5,000 every time he sells a parcel off of it. Then we don't have to put the money in the bank, in somebody else's bank, and we keep the money.
That would be another way to look at it. I think if you do that, the corner buildings that have sat empty the longest, which are probably the biggest concern, might continue to sit, which is why I thought the best thing to do would be to wait until the end. I think we could approach the Lanes and ask if we could consider a time limit.
Yeah. Or we just keep the money in our bank and tell them we'll do this if you sell them all.
Is it the intent, or is the prospect there to be using this money for the ongoing legal battle over the title?
So the owner of the property would be incurring expenses to get clear title. They would have to submit that list of expenses to the manager of the escrow, which would be the city attorney, and then the funds would be released on closing. So it's a way to streamline an incentive while still having accountability, because you have a resolution. So there are other ways to do it.
But I would imagine
I've seen
that
this method done before, so.
the prospect of selling these parcels or these
these properties piecemeal is probably not going to happen.
Some of them are occupied, who knows?
It might. Some are in better condition than others.
It just seems like with all the shared walls and that would be a tough position to put someone in to say, I'm going to buy this sliver right here, and for the rest of you, if something else goes on, you owe me money, because what happens in your particular quadrant may affect how my property is either valued or how usable my property is, should there be roof damage or something like that.
But we have that already, don't we, with all the other properties downtown are all shared walls. Most of this, let me say not all of them, but most of the properties downtown are shared walls in some respects. But
Yeah,
not-
well, and I think where this is different is that we have more of an issue with, as Sam said, having the more deteriorated pieces being part of this puzzle, and to find something that would be more palatable for someone to purchase all of it, you would think that, having the, wrapping the good and bad together to make it all one piece would perhaps be more beneficial, thinking back to our previous discussions with our previous suitor of that space, who had lofty ideas on what to do with the entire building as a whole. Now, probably talking about something that's really not, I don't want to go into the weeds on this, but just looking at, just in contrast to what Brad said about, releasing money as these parts are sold off, if that's going to be an issue for someone who wants to, if going that route is going to become a hindrance for someone who wants to buy the whole thing.
Yeah, but Wayne, the incentive isn't going to the buyer of the property, the incentive is going to the seller.
Right, but if they can't get that incentive, if they can only get part of the incentive by selling part of the piece off.
I think that's a better question, because if the incentive is there to take care of the legal issues so that it can be sold, then I can see the incentive. If it's there just to move the property, then I see it having less value.
Yeah, I would be in agreement on that, where,
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of
because we can't do anything without clean titles, so.
having the flexibility to, there may be, the sixth building may need far and away the most help.
Mhm.
Right.
And so I like the incentive of holding it out till the last one sells.
If I might?
Yes, sir.
So Micah, let me ask you this, to Brad's point, the council approves the resolution, and we just wait to transfer the money to the escrow until it's requested, and then just, you can call me and then we can get it transferred then. That way it can be on our bank account earning interest until that time. Is that appropriate? Under their agreement?
I see no issue with that. The question from the city's perspective is if and what they need to move to keep this under the umbrella of your urban renewal project. And I don't see the need to move it to an escrow fund to accomplish that.
In his letter, Mr. Lane says that his current property manager is Brian Klein. Is that someone from around here?
Yeah, so that would be Shannon Klein's husband. Shannon took possession of Blossom Bride Boutique
Oh, okay.
in that same building, so definitely a vested interest there. And from what I've talked to tenants in that building, they say that he's been a welcome breath of fresh air as far as management's concerned.
Okay.
So as such, if we're talking about changing the resolution around so it says that we're authorizing advancement of costs for an urban renewal project. Do we have the stipulations in there pending sale, or Micah, I guess maybe that's a better question for you about how we should word that resolution if we're looking to hold the money until, and not keep it in our account and not go into an escrow?
Well, I think all you need to do is change section 3 that states that upon closing of the properties, appropriate money will be, the amount will be transferred to the escrow account for distribution. So,
As far as the resolution itself is concerned, right now it reads resolution authorizing advancement of costs for an urban renewal project for the purposes we've been talking about. Can we just drop advancement? Have a resolution authorizing costs for an urban renewal project. That would take out the escrow reference.
I think the advancement language and the escrow language are different language. Sam has used that advancement language in the past, I believe on the advice of Allers, for this type of urban renewal project. But you can certainly take out the escrow language.
So the actual resolution or way it's read right now, or sits right now, allows us the flexibility to handle the money any way we want to.
I think that's a fair statement, but for clarification, if you take out the language about funding the escrow account now, that will resolve that issue you're concerned about. And quite frankly, that's really not key to the idea. The idea is that there's some funds available, as I understand it. You're authorizing that now, but up to this amount can reimburse the owner if they accomplish the sale of all the properties. In my understanding from visiting with city staff, this grows out of, quite frankly, the Poochie problem. Is there something proactively that can be done? It might cost the city a little bit of money, but is there something that proactively can be done to avoid that type of situation again?
So I think I'd be ready then to ask that we approve the resolution per the outline that our city council just put forth in regards to changes in the important information section.
I didn't hear that last sentence. You repeat that last sentence that you said.
What I'm saying is that right now the resolution stands that we're authorizing advancement of costs for an urban renewal project and certification of expenses incurred by the city for payment under Iowa Code Section 403.19. Within that, our council just outlined what needs to be changed within the important information, 1, 2, and 3, that's underneath that resolution. Okay. So if that's changed to what he outlined, then I'm putting it up for approval.
So are you changing section 3 as Micah, I think Micah mentioned that earlier, or are you changing something up further up in the resolution or recommendation?
Whatever Micah outlined.
Section 3, where it refers to
on page 2.
the amount of 30, on page 2, where it refers the amount of 30,000 will be transferred to escrow.
And so we're eliminating the escrow account, am I hearing that correctly? Is that what you're saying, Tom?
Yeah, that's correct to what Micah just outlined, yes.
Okay.
If I might.
Yes.
So this might become a question for some of you later, so I think this part we should address now. I don't want to further complicate this, but in section 4 where it says certification for reimbursement under the code should be made on or before December 1 of '23. So, Micah, maybe you can help me with this, but I think if Tom is willing to accept or willing to amend his recommendation to basically include that if the properties haven't been sold by December 1 of 2023, the resolution comes back up for renewal.
I'm fine with that.
Anything, did I say that in the right way?
So that's the sunset, I would like to see a sunset clause.
Yeah, that was-
kind of effective.
That was gonna be my next question. Do we have a time frame on this to expire?
That's what he just outlined,
He answered that.
which is December 1, 2023.
Yes.
Which means if 5 of the 6 properties are sold and the 6th hasn't been sold, then,
They can make a choice
He's
on
out.
if and how to renew it or amend it at that.
yep.
Mm-hmm. It's not closing the door, it's just saying, it's putting a timeline in there of some sort. I like that idea. Any other comments or questions?
I would second Tom's motion.
Okay, you've got down to, you understand, okay. Then I'm going to call for the question, roll call please.
Farahona?
Aye.
Hamel?
Aye.
Kent?
Aye.
Eggers?
Aye.
Snyder?
Aye.
All right, moving on to item B under the new business, considering a TIF application for Family Dollar. Mike Blue is here from the Family Dollar organization, is that correct?
No, sir.
Oh,
So, Mike Ballou, I am a member, a partner in USFP, which is an acronym for U.S. Federal Properties. We're a national real estate development company based in Kansas City, Missouri. We've got a public arm and a private arm, meaning two different organizations. We develop, our public arm develops assets for the federal government through a very competitive solicitation process led by the federal government. So we'll develop FBI regional headquarters, like we are in Kansas City, Missouri right now. We develop veteran affairs facilities throughout the United States. So we do have a public arm that pursues government interests or government projects throughout the United States. We've been doing that for about 20 years. So we also have a private arm that pursues mainly healthcare assets and retail assets. Tonight we're here to discuss one of these retail assets. So we are a private real estate development company, collectively been around for about 30 years, based in Kansas City, Missouri. So, and just for point of clarification, so we're here really to talk about Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree, Inc. actually acquired Family Dollar approximately 6 years ago. So the reason I'm here really tonight is to talk about a project we are pursuing in the city of Sheldon. And so what we're proposing is a 10,500 square feet retail standalone building. It will be a dual concept, which is relatively new. It's a prototypical building for Dollar Tree. 50% of the building will be Dollar Tree assets, merchandising, and the 50% will be Family Dollar. So it's a very revolutionary type of concept. It's nice when you own two different brands underneath one roof, and it's been very, very successful throughout the United States. So we currently develop for Dollar Tree. We're in 16 different states. We'll do 90, 95 stores this year. And so we've been doing this for quite a while, and we actually enjoy it quite a bit. So the reason I'm here tonight is really talk about the TIF application. So we've been pursuing market, the Northwest, and just the entire state of Iowa for the last 3 years. And we've been able to actively or accurately depict the cost of construction and just overall cost of capital. And we've seen about a 36% increase in our costs. So we're looking for a little assistance through the TIF application to help offset some of these costs so we can get closed and get this project built. We're looking to break ground this year and deliver Q1, late Q1, Q2 next year. So I'll open the floor to anybody, but we're excited about the opportunity. Thank you.
any questions? Anyone? Any comments from Kurt or you, Sam?
I just wanted to say thanks to Mike for driving up today. I know he made the trip all the way from Wichita, so 8+ hours to present the 2-minute presentation, so we appreciate that here today. I just want to make a note on the TIF applications. We're considering it. Keep in mind, and we try to highlight that the request for assistance is just on the increment. Currently, there's a valuation on that property of just over 124,000 on building assessment. This new assessment, the building will be assessed about $630,000, which gives us an increase of about $505,000, just over $505,000. So that's what the rebate is actually going to be fixed off of. So it's actually going to be on the increment, and the existing is going to stay there anyway. So we want to make sure that that was highlighted here today. And then the TIF application has been vetted by the SEDC Executive Committee, and they're putting it back into your hands today as unanimous support for approval. So I'll certainly answer any questions you have. Brad is a member of the SEDC Executive Committee, so he sat in as part of that. So Brad can certainly answer any questions as well. So anyway, comes as a recommendation to approve here today, and Mike, thanks for your consideration in investing in Sheldon.
So in terms of payback, we always use that 7-year window. Does it fit within those parameters?
Yeah, it does quite. Yeah, I don't know how many years it's going to be, but it'll be way under the 7 years. So just for an example, the way a 5-year sliding scale TIF rebate works is you'll take the actual increment that goes on the tax roll. This will increase the actual property tax assessment about $14,560 per year. It will be an increase based on this project. Year one, we'll rebate back 75% of that, which will be about just under $11,000 in year one, but $3,600 will go on the tax rolls, which is an increase of what's already on there. Year two, we'll rebate back 60%, 45% year three, 30% year four. Year five will be a 15% rebate. If you're wondering what that total rebate amount is over 5 years, it looks to be about $32,760. That'll be the total rebate. Total revenue generated based on that same time frame is going to be over $40,000. So it'll more than pay for itself, but also help this group too with the investment. So it's a good investment. It's a small investment based on the project. We talk about curb appeal and improving the corridor. It's been part of our planning strategy for a number of years. I think this is a good way to kind of capitalize on that with a partner. So
good. Anyone else? All right, then if we move on, we need a motion to approve, subject to future approval of a minimum assessment agreement.
Make that motion.
We have support?
Support.
And then just a reminder, when you talk about that future approval, because it's a TIF and urban renewal project, we'll go through the contract for development process that set it for hearing and approve that contract. So just a reminder of
So that's
the
what happens in
details
our
there.
next step,
Yep.
right? Setting the hearing.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
So there's just some more work to be done. Drafts are being produced.
Okay, so those are Micah's comments. Are there any other questions pertaining to the motion? Then we'll have roll call, please.
Eggers,
Aye.
Farahona,
Aye.
Hand,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Hamel,
And then the third part of this is to set the hearing on the contract for development and minimum assessment agreement for October 5. We need a motion for that as well.
Support.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Snyder,
Aye.
Hand,
Aye.
Hamel, Eggers,
Aye.
Farahona,
Aye.
All right, moving on to item C, we approving the plans and specs for the Highway 18/34th Avenue traffic signals and intersection improvements. Todd, anything you'd like to say at this time?
Yeah, Jason from Beck Engineering is here.
Okay.
That's who helped us with the design of this intersection. He's just going to go over a few highlights of the project for you, and then him and I can stand.
Okay, very good. Welcome, Jason.
good evening, everyone.
Just some general information. I would assume you're all aware of the ongoing improvements to Highway 18 and 34th Rungear area. And what those are going to consist of is approximately 800 total feet project end-to-end, east to west, of turn lanes. There'll be a right turn lane added to eastbound traffic to turn south onto 34th, and also a right turn lane to turn onto Rungear off of Highway 18 if you're westbound. There'll be some intersections improvements to widen both those intersections a little bit to get dedicated left turn lane onto 34th coming back into town, as well as a right turn lane off of Rungear to head east into town as well. Obviously, the traffic signals will also be installed as part of that project. Get rid of a couple of stop signs. And as a reminder, the DOT is contributing $200,000 from their U-Step program to help out with some of the funds. So that was kind of some of the delay in the project of the starting probably close to 18 months ago, 12 to 18 months ago. But a little bit of inflation since then, but yet the DOT at least came through and was willing to contribute. And that is the max that they allow for what they consider a small project. They kind of group them into small and large based on size and cost and everything else, and $200,000 was the max for this type of project to be eligible. And we do have approval amongst other Iowa DOT permits. The main one that was needed was the traffic control device application from the DOT. That's the one that pretty much gives their nod to the project, and we do have the TCD completed, fully signed, and executed by the city and back in hand.
So what does that mean?
Means
to me?
Finally, the DOT approved of the project.
Okay.
Based on some past history, discussing with Todd, it's been on and off for years, it seems like.
Okay.
Trying to get a traffic signal put at this intersection.
So how will the stoplights actually operate? Are they going to be on a demand basis from Runger, and or is it going to be timed? Is it going to be programmed, or how is that going to work?
It'll be a camera system is what predominantly regulates that. So in a roundabout way, demand is what will control the turn.
So if someone comes up from Runger and stops, it'll time out and then
it will
trigger the light to change.
Exactly.
Give them access then.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So similar to over by the hospital.
Yeah, similar camera to 6th Street and Washington Avenue.
Right.
A little more complicated because there's a few more things going on at the intersection.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Sam, you had a question?
Yeah, Jason, will rights on red be recommended, or?
There will be rights on red allowed. That is actually one thing the DOT is trying to get away from is having, they're trying to get away from no right turn on red. So this will have, this will allow right turns on red initially. There will be dedicated turn arrows for some left turn movements. The main reason for that is that there still is not a lot of queue or staging area on the south side before you get to the gas stations or the convenience stores driveway entrance. So we're trying not to back traffic up into that, so people waiting to turn right and head east on Highway 18 will be allowed to do so.
And in a little history lesson, Sheldon used to have no right turn on red allowed at Washington Avenue and 6th Avenue, and the council went through the process of getting that changed and allowing right on reds a number of years ago.
If it becomes an issue for whatever reason, that sign could always be mounted on the traffic arms, and the settings change, you know, to prohibit right turn on red if there are issues for whatever reason. What will this construction timeline look like in terms of impacting the businesses that are there at that intersection? Good question. General schedule will be about a year out, or roughly so. There are some lead time issues with some of the traffic control devices and components. So anything happening this fall will be very minimal, or probably likely not even to happen. The construction will take place in essentially 2 to 4 phases. I call it the northeast is the Highway 18 work, and the southwest will be the longer duration, adding the turn lanes, pushing the slopes out. There definitely will be some hindrance to the convenience store, but the intention is to have the least amount of traffic impact as possible by multiple traffic control setups. The south entrance to the convenience store should never be blocked. It won't be that far south. I think the inconvenience will be having to find your way in there and get back out and around.
I think the locals will probably be just fine because they know that they can come in off the side streets. It'll be some of the transient vehicles that might be a little less tuned to the area. But none of them should ever be totally shut off. Might just take a little workaround to get there.
Okay. Jason, this is a working day contract. Once they start that, how many working days?
You
We have
told
50?
Yes.
We discussed it, I don't remember.
Yeah. Yeah, 50 working days. And a final completion towards the end of October is the way we worked it out. The late start date is July of 23, July 31 of 23, that's a Monday. And then we worked it backwards to figure out that roughly the end of October, depending on rain days and things like that, would be final completion.
Does that come with penalties then too? If it's beyond those days?
Yeah, right now it's stipulated to be $500 per working day, past the number of stipulated working days.
Good.
We felt, we did discuss that, felt that there should be some sort of incentive to keep them going, especially with businesses and commercial property there.
Penalties, in my history, it's been a challenge to get anything out of them.
We have
Correct.
occasionally, Brad.
We
but
have
it-
gotten some, but not
but
as much
it's-
as
Nobody wins.
nobody wins.
Not fun and nobody wins.
That's true. But as we discussed, if you have nothing in there,
Yep.
there is no backbone to keep them moving,
Yep.
so.
Right.
There'll be no hindrance to the flowing of the highway itself, will there?
Hindrance, yes, but it'll never be totally impeded. You'll always be able to be east or westbound at the same time.
Because there's a lot of traffic.
By the time we work on the turn lanes, Ken, we'll be working right on the shoulder of the road now, so there's gonna have to be some traffic lanes moved over. Yes, it will be a hindrance.
Yeah. Part of construction season.
Progress.
Progress. If you want
Yeah.
it improved, you will have some inconveniences.
Sam has one more question.
Yeah, Jason, you were able to bring a lot of great bidders to the table on the trail project. What's the bid environment for this one?
I think it will be similar, different contractors, most likely, just because of the nature of the project and scope of the work. But I think getting it out for bid this early and having the long lead time should entice a lot of bidders.
Okay. Anything else? So then our first item there is motion to set the bid opening for October 13 at 2 p.m.
I make that motion.
Support.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Hamel.
Aye.
Kent.
Aye.
Farahona.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
And then the second part of that is to set the public hearing for October 19 to approve that bid, I'm assuming.
So moved.
Support. Questions? Roll call, please.
Farahona.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Hamel.
Aye.
Kent.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
We now move on to the reporting section of our agenda. Starting with you, Sam, anything?
One item, the rest of my report speaks for itself, but Angie sent me the numbers today on signups for cleanup week, and we're about a third or so of where we were last year. So I think it may be because of the pent-up energy from COVID, and people cleaned out everything last year, but we just haven't had as many signups this year, and we've done just as much effort this year to get the word out. So hopefully there'll be some more signups here in the next week. So. What?
Nothing.
Oh, you didn't want me to promote this,
You
did
just
you? Caught that.
All right, anything else?
No.
All right, then, Todd, anything from you?
Thank you.
Kurt?
Really quickly, I just wanted to just do a huge shout out real quick to all the volunteers from last weekend and Todd and his team, Lau Frowine. took a lot over the last weekend, but they came out in droves, and it's a great weekend for Sheldon. We've heard nothing but good things since then, but we certainly can't do it without the help, and I know I talked to Todd and Lyle about it this week too, and their willingness to step up in a time of need and being shorthanded, and when things pop up like that on a Saturday afternoon, it's awesome. So we appreciate it, and just wanted to do what was acknowledged that today. So thank you to everybody who volunteered, and Todd,
Chief Birch, anything from you today?
No, thank you.
Angie?
No, thank you.
Micah?
No, thank you.
Council to my left.
Again, thanks for all the volunteers to make a good weekend happen.
All right, to my right?
Ditto.
Kristen. Okay. He said you were back there. All right. Yes, just, the whole weekend was a trip down memory lane for myself, many people I would imagine. And SEDC, you guys did an amazing job of spearheading this whole thing. I know you're thanking the volunteers, but I want to thank the SEDC office for everything you guys have done to make it happen and pull it together, you know, and with Ashley being down with the pregnancy and premature birth and stuff, there were some tough days in there, but you pulled it off in a big way, so thank you for that, Kurt. Pass along our thanks. All right, at this point then, we are going to move into closed session. We'll need a motion for that.
So moved. Support.
Roll call, please.
Hamel. Snyder.
Aye.
Kent.
Aye.
Aaron.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.